The purpose of this resource is to provide guidance for utilizing scaffolds that are embedded in your EL Education District curriculum. Scaffolding is an instructional method that progressively moves students toward greater independence and understanding during the learning process. It is a temporary support that acknowledges what students already know, the barriers they will face in achieving new learning goals, and the instructional support that will benefit them in negotiating those barriers. Throughout this learning opportunity, we'll focus on examples of scaffolds that already exist within the EL education lessons, using Lesson 4 from Grade 5, Module 1, Unit 1. An EL Education Scaffold Overview document for elementary ELA grades 2 through 5 can be found in Learning Central under the appendix with each grade level module and in the teacher planning tools for your grade level curriculum. Please refer to this document for additional supports as you plan. The lesson components listed on the slide are where you can locate embedded scaffolds within lessons and will be highlighted throughout this presentation. In this lesson, students will determine the gist and meaning of unfamiliar words and phrases in Article 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and will also make connections between Esperanza Rising and the UDHR. Identifying the meaning of unfamiliar vocabulary is a big focus of this lesson. Looking at the teaching note section, you will see that this lesson heavily focuses on vocabulary and resources students will use throughout Module 1 and throughout the school year. Students will be given vocabulary logs in their materials. They will use these logs, one called academic vocabulary and one called domain-specific vocabulary, to collect new vocabulary in lessons and reading. Students will also be given an affix list to refer to throughout the year when determining unfamiliar vocabulary. You may want to consider students having their own vocabulary notebooks with the academic vocabulary, domain-specific vocabulary, and affix charts. Students are also given their own student-friendly copy of the UDHR for use during this module, where they will add symbols to represent the meaning of each article. They will also make connections between las uvas and articles of the UDHR. Each lesson provides a section for supports for ELLs. These strategies may be helpful to all students, regardless of language proficiency. It is important to note that in this lesson, students investigate vocabulary systematically using vocabulary logs. This lesson also uses several modes of presentation, such as text, video, and discussion to help students make meaning and connections between the UDHR and what they have been reading in Esperanza so far. All students benefit from the academic and domain-specific vocabulary logs that include not only definitions and pronunciations, but making meaning through adding synonyms and sketches for each word. To benefit all students and increase engagement and ownership of the anchor chart titled, How Were the Human Rights of the Characters in Esperanza Rising Threatened?, transform this into a kinesthetic activity by writing each cell of the chart onto note cards or sticky notes, and allowing different students to paste the cards on the correct locations as you go. The Universal Design for Learning provides strategies for reaching different students in the different ways they learn. For example, in this lesson, when students are to make connections between Esperanza Rising and the UDHR, you could provide multiple representations of these connections by providing a symbol, a word, or a phrase that shows the connection they are making. When students are asked to identify unknown vocabulary and find the gist simultaneously, instead, you could chunk the task, doing one or the other first. To make the vocabulary log meaningful to the students, explain the purpose and give examples of how they can use the vocab log during the study of the UDHR and the reading of Esperanza Rising.